Yeah, we're gonna go punish some naughty kids. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing well out there. And today we're gonna go punish some naughty kids. But before we dole out that punishment, do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. Join me here, I greatly would appreciate that. Today we're gonna talk about the Christmas time slasher film, Silent Night, Deadly Night. Yes, this little baby right here. Yes, this film was released on November 9th of 1984 to a lot of controversy, which we'll speak about in a little bit. The theatrical cut was rated R, and the theatrical cut ran 1 hour and 19 minutes. Now, that unrated Blu-ray that I just showed you is actually 85 minutes because they cut 6 minutes out of the film because they were afraid they were going to get the dreaded rated X from the MPAA. Now, this film had a budget of a little over $1 million, and upon release, even though it only spent 2 weekends in theaters, it managed to gross $2.4 million. This was released through TriStar Pictures. This film was directed by Charles E. Seller, and he wasn't really a horror fan, but they were looking for a movie that they could produce on the cheap, and this is what they end up doing. Now, in this film, we got Lillian Chauvin as Mother Superior, and she is a major biatch. Robert Brian Wilson plays the adult Billy, the poor kid who ends up becoming a psychopath later on in life. Britt Leach plays Mr. Sims, the owner and operator of Ira's Toy Store. And I only bring him up because he was the guy in The Great Outdoors with John Candy that got electrocuted multiple times. He's in that film. We got Linnea Quigley as Denise, and she has a very memorable scene in this film, like she had a very memorable scene the next year in Return of the Living Dead. And we got Leo Getter playing her boyfriend, Tommy. The only reason I even bring this actor up is because he's a little history with horror, because later on, he would be Barry Sims in Halloween 6. Now, this film takes place at Christmas time. Billy, along with his younger brother and his mom and dad, are driving into the Utah mountains to visit his grandfather, who's in this asylum or home. They don't really say which one it is, but Grandpa hasn't spoken in a very long time. Now, these parents take the young child with them and leave Billy with Grandpa, who's sitting in the chair in the middle of this darkened room by himself, not saying a damn word, and Billy's standing there, and Grandpa turns to Billy, smiles manically, and starts telling him that if he's not a good boy, Santa's going to punish him in awful ways, which obviously scares the shit out of this little kid, as it would any kid at this kid's age. And he hops in the car to go with his parents back to their home, and they happen upon this Santa Claus broke down on the side of the road. Well, Santa is not a jolly guy here. This guy is a little bit of a son of a bitch, because we just saw him shoot a guy before this scene at a convenience store and steal the money. Now he's looking for a getaway car because his getaway car just took a shit. So he shoots the dad through the windshield and proceeds to sexually assault the mother before slitting her throat with a blade. And Billy runs off to the side of the road and hides behind some bushes while his brother continues to cry in the car. Some years later, not 10 years yet, and Billy is in an orphan's home run by Mother Superior. And Billy has some trauma left over from that day. Him and his brother are both at this home. As no shit, this kid would have a lot of trauma after that. And back then, this Mother Superior does not believe, obviously, in maybe getting a psychiatrist in there to talk to this kid to help him work through his problems. Her way of working through this kid's problems is blunt force, by making the kid do shit he doesn't want to do, even though he's clearly has issues and PTSD from that day. And she keeps forcing this kid to do stuff and act a certain way. And this kid seems like he's a good kid. He's just disturbed by what he saw his parents die right in front of him. So obviously this kid has deep psychological damage done. His brother, not so much, because he was so young when it happened. His brother doesn't really remember, although his brother would star in the sequel. And eventually I will talk about that film, because boy, oh boy, garbage day, infamous line. But anyway, we're talking about the original film. So one Christmas, or the same Christmas, Mother Superior tells this other nun at this orphanage that the other nun is really concerned about Billy and knows he has issues. Mother Superior doesn't even want to entertain these thoughts or ideas. So Santa Claus is coming to visit these orphans, and Mother Superior says Billy will sit on his lap, which ends up with Billy cold-cocking Santa and screaming madly because he was forced to sit on Santa's lap. Now, fast forward to Billy's 18 years old, and the one nun who was really friendly to Billy and trying to help Billy and cares gets him a job at Ira's Toy Store. This is in March or April. They do show the calendar, but it's earlier in the year. Now, Mr. Sims hires Billy because Billy's a big, strong dude and needs somebody to work in the warehouse portion of the store. Billy gets the job, and he's a model employee. Model employee shows up all the time, does whatever needs to be done. Fast forward to Christmas time. Christmas Eve, the last day before Christmas Day, and her Santa Claus calls out, breaks his ankle, and can't make it in. Well, Mr. Sims decides to ask Billy to put on the suit, which Billy does because he wants to make his boss happy. And Billy starts getting flashbacks to that night. Now, fast forward, they close the store, they have this little party, and this girl he likes there, he finds getting sexually assaulted by his coworker from the warehouse who's kind of a dick, and he kills him by holding him up with one arm with Christmas lights and choking the shit out of him. And the girl that he liked starts telling him he's a psycho. He turns around. Billy has completely gone off the fucking reservation at this point and stabs her in the chest and runs it down through her and kills her as well, and basically kills the rest of his coworkers, including Mr. Sims, the owner, and because he buries a hammer in his head. And the other woman that works in the store that he kills with a bow and arrow was one of the doctors in the beginning of Halloween 4, the Return of Michael Myers, that unfortunately gets killed in the ambulance when they leave Smith's Grove Sanitarium. After this, Billy just goes on a killing spree. First stopping out at Denise's house, where she's getting down with her boyfriend, Tommy. And this is the famous scene because Linnea Quigley is naked once again. And Billy picks her up and forces her down on these deer antlers that are mounted on the wall. And then he kills Tommy. And then he's off and kills these two bullies who bully these two kids out of their sleighs. And when they come down the hill, it's when he jumps out with the axe and yells "Naughty" and chops the kid's head off. Fast forward through some more of this plot. He makes a beeline back to the orphanage to kill Mother Superior. And before he can do so, he gets killed by the cops. But his brother sees all this, looks at Mother Superior, and goes "Naughty" in a freeze frame. And that's the end of Silent Night, Deadly Night. What's like about this film? Well, I'm a sucker for Christmas horror films. Obviously, the pinnacle for me, the best Christmas horror film ever done, and a great horror film in general, is the original Black Christmas, the one that's written and directed by Bob Clark. This film doesn't reach those heights, but it's still a fun, well, it's very brutal. There is some violence and there is some blood for sure, and Billy spills copious amounts of blood in this film. Billy's plight is probably the hook here. This kid goes through so much trauma seeing his parents get killed in front of him. And Mother Superior is not having any of it. She is just, you're going to do what I tell you, and I don't give a shit what kind of psychological damage you have. This other nun sees that Mother Superior is in charge, doesn't even want to hear it, like I said. So watching Billy struggle, he's not a bad kid. You could tell he just has issues and needs somebody to talk to about it. But there's nobody to talk to. Mother Superior shuts down this other nun that wants to do something. She won't have it. So by the time Billy's an adult, and he's a nice kid, wants to help out, wants to work hard, but as soon as he puts that Santa suit on and sees some bad things happening during the Christmas party, he just goes off the deep end. And after that, it's just a straight slasher film. Billy's just killing people left and right until he gets to the orphanage and he gets shot and killed before he can kill Mother Superior. But overall, I love the Christmas decor. They really sell it. This was shot in Utah. The whole film was shot in Utah. They do decorate everything for Christmas. It looks very Christmassy, and I can appreciate that. You can tell this was a lower budgeted film. The director does an okay job, a very workmanlike job. It's shot okay. It's not the worst shot movie I've ever seen. It's not the best shot movie I've ever seen. Brian Wilson does a pretty good job with Billy. He's not he doesn't have to do a whole lot. He emotes the emotions that he has to hit. And then when he's the killer, he's damn good as a killer, actually. Now, they did remake this film back in 2012. They called it just Silent Night. It has a more of a supernatural bent to it. I have seen that. It's okay. I didn't love that film. I actually prefer the original to that film. Many of the kills in this film were actually directed by the editor. The director he didn't want to stay around to watch people get killed. He wasn't a horror fan. So when it was time to kill people, he actually stepped away from the camera, and the editor had to step in and direct those scenes. The film was protested against because of the use of Santa Claus as a serial killer in the promotions of this film. So people protested outside the theaters and all that stuff. So this film only lasted 2 weekends in the theaters, and then it got yanked by TriStar because of all the heat they were taking. And actually, Gene Siskel called them out on air when they were reviewing this film during the Siskel and Ebert's review show. 6 minutes of the film was cut out to get the rated R. That's why the theatrical cut's only 79 minutes long. Sleigh Ride was the original working title for this film, but TriStar changed it during production to Silent Night, Deadly Night. They felt it was a better title for this film. But overall, it's a perfectly enjoyable Christmas time slasher film. It does get mean, it does get nasty. and you do feel bad for Billy for what he's gone through. But so at the end of the day, it's not a perfect slasher. You could tell there was budget limitations, and the psychological aspect is there. I don't think the subtlety was there with it. Honestly, it's more hit with a sledgehammer. But at the end of the day, I like this film. It's a film I've seen many times over the years, and I revisit every Christmas. This and Black Christmas and Krampus are my three that I definitely have to get in during the Christmas season. At the end of the day, this is a perfectly fine slasher film. I would give it a 6.5 out of 10. Yes, 6.5 out of 10 for the original Silent Night, Deadly Night. Have you ever seen this one? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, share this video. I would appreciate that. I'll be back soon with some more reviews, but until next time, bye.